Hello, my name is Elizabeth Austin, class of 2024, and this summer I have been doing a research internship at the Smithsonian National Museum of Natural History. I am helping with Middlebury Professor Alexis Mikhailo's research into the extinction of sea mink as a result of the Maine fur trade. At the Smithsonian, I am working with another intern, Sarah Williams from Oklahoma University, and mentor Dr. Tori Rick to evaluate the faunal remains of mink, muskrat, and beaver from the Smithsonian's archaeobiological archives related to Maine. Our goal is to catalog what the Smithsonian Institution has relating to these fur-bearing species in Maine, as well as contextualize these sample sites using Smithsonian resources. Of the 870 archaeological collections related to coastal Maine, 650 were collections of interest. Of those sites, Sarah and I identified 77 faunal remain collections. Within these, we identified 5 mink remains, 4 muskrat remains, and over 32 beaver remains. Within these collections, we took molar and lower tooth row measurements, which can be used to estimate body size, age, and sex of these mammals. The cataloging of these collections will eventually help Professor Mikhailo and her colleague Dr. Hoffman extract DNA and date these remains. Along with combing through these faunal remains, Sarah and I have also been working to contextualize these specimens within a historical context that centers Indigenous people using documents from the National Anthropological Archives. We have identified several geographic areas of interest, especially the coastline of Hancock and Washington County. These areas have a high concentration of collections containing our fur-bearing species of interest, which could reflect high amounts of hunting and trading in the area, or it could simply reflect where Smithsonian collectors, such as Cushing, were excavating in the early 1900s. Samples within the Smithsonian collections were mostly excavated from shell heap middens, areas used to dump domestic waste such as discarded bones, shells, shards, lithics, etc. They serve as rich sites of archaeological interest because they contain material that reflects the habits and diets from communities within their spatio-temporal stamp. The faunal remains from mink, muskrat, and beaver within the Smithsonian collections were likely thrown into shell heaps after the animals were skinned for their fur. They were then found by Smithsonian anthropologists in the late 1800s, a large portion of which were taken by Frank Cushing, an American anthropologist in the late 1800s and early 1900s. While these faunal samples contain pertinent information, Cushing took them without knowledge or consent of those who inhabited the area, including Passamaquoddy and the Eastern Abenaki. These outdated and unethical anthropological practices are unfortunately what many museums' collections originated on, although the Smithsonian is currently working with Indigenous people across the globe to repatriate unethically taken artifacts. In the coming weeks, I will be pulling more historical records from the Smithsonian about the conditions in which these collections were originally taken by Cushing and other early 1900s anthropologists. We will also be completing sampling requests for our samples of interest that have good potential for DNA extraction. In cataloging what Maine fur-bearing species are present in the Smithsonian collections, collecting documents to contextualize this history, and sampling and measuring our specimens, Sarah and I can help contribute to a current North American fur trade project so we can understand how the fur trade affected biodiversity, sea mink extinction, and the exploitation of Indigenous people.